I'm Sarath, product manager at icom.ai, and in AI interviewing platform designed to help companies hire faster, smarter, and at scale. So it's great to see you all of you joining us today. Today we are going to talk about something that almost every hiring team is experiencing right now, but very few organizations have actually understood it yet. And that is this: the resume, which has been the foundation for hiring for decades, is rapidly losing its stardom or maybe prominence. If you go back in time, 10 years ago, resumes were imperfect, but they were at least human. Today, we are entering a hiring reality where the majority of the resumes are AI generated, not assisted, not edited, but fully generated. And that fundamentally changes the hiring equation. So the question to the hiring teams is, how do you identify the real capability in a world where can be generated instantly? Or how do you shortlist candidates based on evidence rather than a presentation? So that's exactly what we are going to explore today. In the next few minutes, we will learn about why resume screening is breaking in the era of AI generated resumes. How is ATS failing in addressing this? What is the impact on the hiring process with this AI generated resumes? What are the current hiring trends that resonate with this? How to deal with this sort of AI generated resumes? And also a full proof solution for this. By the end of the session, you should walk away with a clear framework for how hiring needs to evolve in the AI era. Before we begin, let's start a quick poll to understand who you are and what are your hiring challenges today. Shreya, could you please launch the poll, please? So let's jump into the presentation now. So if we take a step for backward and look at what exactly the hiring pipeline look like is, so when a role opens, companies often see a flood of applications within the days. And on the surface, this looks like a healthy talent pool, but the challenge isn't quantity anymore. The real challenge is signal clarity. So what we are seeing across industries is that application volume is growing far faster than the recruiter's ability to evaluate candidates meaningfully. Technology was made it extremely easy for the candidates to apply to a dozen, sometimes even hundreds of roles in a single day. At the same time, tools powered by AI can instantly generate resumes tailored to a JD. With a few prompts, a candidate can produce a document that looks perfectly aligned with the role, with the right keywords, having the right structure, even the right phrasing. Out of 1,000, we can see 900 are AI generated resumes, more than 90%, and 700 turns out to be keyword optimized, and 300 contain partially fabricated experiences. And in many cases, only 50 candidates are actually strong. And out of this, maybe five are serious contenders. From a recruiter's perspective, this creates a difficult situation. Many applications look strong on paper at when candidates enter the interview stage. The actual capability signals can be very, very different. This is why hiring teams today spend enormous amount of time reviewing profiles that appear promising but ultimately don't translate into strong interviews. So the funnel you're seeing on the screen represent a pattern many organizations are experiencing currently. A very large top of the funnel, but only a very small number of candidates who genuinely demonstrate the depth of experience and thinking that need it for the role. So the real question recruiters face is not how do I screen 1,000 resumes. The real question is, in fact, how do I identify the real five in that massive noise? Because if that distinction only becomes clear during the late stage interviews, the hiring process becomes slow, expensive, and frustrating both for recruiters and as well as candidates. So, because in the AI era, the hiring challenge is not shortage of candidates; it's signal extraction from noise. What leading companies are beginning to realize is that hiring process needs to shift from evaluating written claims to observing candidates' capability much earlier in the funnel. So instead of spending time reading hundreds of resumes, the process needs a way to quickly to surface candidates who can actually think through problems, articulate their experiences clearly, and respond dynamically to the questions. So resume fabrication, when we are seeing AI generated resumes, basically what's happening is resume fabrication. And resume fabrication problem didn't start with AI. Even before AI, candidates were already fabricating resumes. Back in 2010, hiring has always involved a degree of self-presentation. Candidates naturally try to highlight their strengths, emphasize their achievements, and position their experience in the best possible light. That has been part of the job market for decades. Candidates manually edited resumes and or maybe copied someone else's resumes. Early on, it was simple with manual exaggeration and with inflated titles. Around 2015, what has changed is the scale and the sophistication of that optimization. Keyword stuffing started to appear. In the early days of digital hiring, small adjustments were enough to improve the visibility. Editing a few lines in the resume or emphasizing certain tools or responsibilities. As application tracking systems ATS became common, candidates began tailoring their resumes to match specific keywords in the JDs. Eventually, this turned into a process where the structure and wording of the resumes were deliberately optimized so that automated screening systems would rank them higher. By 2020, AI-assisted resume writing became the new normal. And today in 2026, we are entering the era of fully AI-generated resumes. AI has industrialized the resume optimization. What we are seeing now is the next stage of that evolution. So Gen AI has made it possible to produce highly polished resumes almost instantly. With the right prompts, a candidate can generate multiple versions of the resumes, each aligned perfectly for the different role. From a perspective of a recruiter, this creates an unusual situation. The documents being evaluated may be extremely well written and technically aligned with the job description, and they may not necessarily reflect the depth of thinking or experience that's required for the role. So, in other words, the hiring process has gradually become an arms race between optimization and evolution. Candidates now have powerful tools to present themselves in the best possible way. What used to take hours then now takes seconds. Resumes become too perfect with perfect grammar, perfect formatting, and perfect JD alignment. And ironically, that perfection is exactly the problem. Because when every resume looked perfect, they stopped differentiating candidates. AI didn't create the problem, AI simply scaled it. Now consider the systems which we used to evaluate resumes earlier, or even currently in many scenarios. Most ATS platforms are designed with three assumptions. Resumes are written by humans and keywords indicate the real skill, past experience predict the future capability. But in today's environment, none of these assumptions hold. Most ATS systems were designed for a different hiring environment or for a different era. Now AI writes the resumes, keywords can be gamed, experience can be inflated, experience narratives can be manufactured. So ATS systems end up optimizing for text quality instead of the truth quality. So they are actually ranking the formatting quality. ATS systems were designed to process documents, but hiring decisions require evaluating human capability. These two problems are fundamentally different. And that mismatch is why recruiters feel the system is not working anymore. So there is something we often hear this. Resumes are dead. Resumes are dead in many newspaper articles or many scenarios. This is something we hear repeatedly from recruiting teams. They are not just overwhelmed; they are mentally exhausted because every resume looks strong, but very few candidates actually are. Many say resumes dead, but are they really dead? That arises to a question that resumes today are increasingly becoming marketing documents. Candidates claim things like build scalable systems, strong communicator, 5 years experience in XYZ. But when recruiters try to verify these claims, they often find copied bulletin points or AI generated text or claims that are very difficult to verify. The gap between what is claimed and what is real is widening with time. And that gap is what we call signal collapse. Recruiters today are not screening candidates anymore. They are screening prompts written by ChatGPT or Gemini. And that's a very different hiring challenge. AI-generated resumes create several hidden problems. This shift leading to several costs for the organizations. First, false positives increase. Many candidates appear qualified on the paper but fail during the interviews. Secondly, interviews to offer ratio drops. Recruiters spend too much of time interviewing candidates who cannot perform. Third, the recruiter fatigue increase. So teams spend hours of time on screening applications who are never viable. And finally, time to hire also increases. When everyone looks qualified, shortlisting becomes a guesswork. Rec- Recruiters today are facing three compounding challenges. The first, application volume is exploding. Second, resume quality is artificially inflated. And third, keyword matching is no longer a reliable proxy for skill, which leads to a surprising reality. Recruiters are no longer screening candidates, they are screening AI prompts, as I said. So what are the role it is? Say Java developer, data scientist, product manager. Only the ability to write prompts is tested in all of these cases. So if someone is good with prompts, they can typically crack a role irrespective of what skills they can have. So me being a product manager can crack a Java developer first round interview with this AI. We see several macro trends around which are accelerating this problem. We now have AI resume generators, template driven applications, mass job applications, keyword optimization tools. So together these tools dramatically increase the application throughput. But recruiters' capacity has not increased at the same pace, which means applications are scaling faster than recruiters' bandwidth. Hiring is moving from document intelligence to human intelligence evolution. And that companies that adopt to the shift first will have the massive advantage. So the hiring paradigm must evolve. Historically, hiring started with reading resumes, but in an AI world, reading resumes tells us less and less. Instead, hiring must move from observing candidates, or hiring must move towards observing candidates. The objective is no longer to find the best writer; it is to find the best thinker, and that requires introducing a new layer in the hiring process: proof of competence. So decades of research across industries shows something interesting. The strongest predictors of job success are not formatting or keywords. They are signals like communication clarity, structured thinking, real-time problem solving, authentic responses, all of which appear during an interaction, not during a document review. Leading hiring teams are already changing their workflows. The traditional process look like resume, interview, evaluate, and then this ticketation. But this assumes that resume is a trustworthy signal. In the AI era, that assumption breaks. The emerging model looks like this instead. So first we need a proof, then we need an evidence to validate that, then take a decision. So observe capability first, then make hiring decisions. This shift creates a new category in the hiring technology. Not 8 years, not resume passing, but something new. This leads us to a new category in hiring, which is signal first hiring infrastructure. To systems designed to measure capability before recruiter time is invested. Instead of reading claims first, organization test capability first. Candidates demonstrate their thinking through interaction. They speak, they think, they respond, and they reason. Only then do recruiters evaluate the strongest candidates. To operationalize this shift, we use what we call the proof of competence framework. There are three simple tests. So first is the why test. Shift the question from what did you do to why did you choose that specific solution over option B? Or by doing so, it would reveal the depth of understanding of the candidate or decision making quality of the or first principle thinking, ownership versus memorization. So we get to dig deep into the candidate's potentials. So check the candidates in terms of real-time adoption. Ask the question, can the candidate pivot when problem constraints change mid-conversation? So with this, strong candidates would be only able to demonstrate flexible timing, problem reframing ability, composure under pressure, live reasoning capability. And thirdly, the vibe check. Evaluate what resumes cannot show, such as active listening, professional tone, context awareness, or genuine empathy. These traits remain difficult for AI to authentically replicate in a live interaction. So competence is not declared; it is observed under cognitive load. So this is exactly where ICOM fits. ICOM is the infrastructure that enables the proof of competence. ICOM is not trying to replace ATS systems. Instead, it adds something missing from the hiring stack, a layer that answers the most important question. Instead of asking, does this resume look good? It asks a different question. Can this candidate actually do the job? Or did this candidate actually demonstrate capability? ICOM evaluates candidates through A-led interviews, experience validation, real-time skill proving. One second. Yes, sorry. ICOM evaluates candidates through A-led interviews, experience validation logic, real-time skill probing, behavioral reasoning analysis. The goal is simple: move hiring from document screening to capability verification. At the center of this approach is the AI interviewer. Think of AI interviewer as a scalable first round interview. But unlike traditional screening calls, it's consistent, it's unbiased, it measures reasoning in real time, which means recruiters receive evidence instead of assumptions. It conducts a structured 20 minutes simulation, AI asks contextual questions, proving follow ups. Can you hear the audio of the system?
Yes, yeah, this is about me.
Thank you for sharing. Can you describe a situation where you had to work with a difficult team member? How did you handle it?
Yeah, yes, in my entire career, 2 years of career, I have seen many difficult situations. I handle that situation very professionally and calmly. And for example, when I get the production issues, right, first I'll understand what is the issues and I'll go through the logs and I'll inform to the team members and team lead, and I'll find mainly the multi-cloud expert, right, where I'll use the cloud formation and Terraform. When it comes to
So
any
if we look
case,
at, we see a HR round earlier
yeah,
and
first
resume
things are
validation round
wonderful
and the
service that
second
cloud
phase.
formation that, yeah, when particular application and restricting the many attacks. Also, for example, I used to in
We
one
see
of
a
the
JD
case I used
fitment
to
score
handle
and we see a personality
Thank you for
assessment.
sharing that. We are now moving.
So I think this is a long interview. I'll share this on the socials post this. So a video interview looks something simulated to a human interview. So when if we look at the traditional process, what exactly happens, right? So we have three categories or four categories. The first thing is the HR calls a candidate and asks for checks the notice period, budgets, location, and how soon they can join. So all this basic stuff. And the second thing is about they try to validate. There's an interview where they try to validate what is present in the resume. They validate the claims. They validate whether they have actually done it, what they have written in the resume. And the third, as a recruiter, everybody has a requirement. Everybody has JD. There are some requirements for XYZ skills. So they try to validate whether these persons have that or not. Probably they also check some soft side of things like communication aspect, for instance, or problem solving ability or so. So once the interview is done, this is how the AI report look like. So we see signals like resume match score, interview score, skill fit, experience validation, and joining probability. So we also see the interview recordings as well as some malpractice detections. Two signals recruiters often find particularly viable are experience fit and joining probability. So these are the sort of details an AI interviewer can actually extract from an interview instead of human doing that. An AI can do it at scale. So open to any questions if you have. So open to questions and do anyone has some any questions? Probably we started this with AI generated resumes, claiming that 90% are AI generated. So probably this explains about why the fabrication was always there from the past. It's just that it scaled 100x. And what is the impact with the that's happening with this scale? Eventually, resumes alone cannot be the first round of a screening layer. So a human interviewing per candidate probably takes 20 to 30 minutes. And if they want to interview 1,000 people, probably it takes 500 hours. So it lasts a month and maybe more than that. Or it needs a team of recruiters instead. So beside that, an AI interviewer would enable you to do that same interview with a scale. You can trigger AI interviews to 1,000 people which they can parallelly or concurrently do take the interview and generate you a detailed report maybe within a couple of days. So that sort of time to hire reduction is happening with an AI interviewer and also addressing an AI generated questions. Sorry, AI generated resumes. So any questions if you have, I'm open to answer. Let's we would summarize the session. Okay, to summarize today's session, the hiring challenge is no longer a shortage of talent. It's a signal detection in an AI generated world. Organizations that adopt their hiring models to focus on observable capability will gain a significant advantage. This is exactly the shift ICOM is designed to enable. So if you're curious to explore this approach, you can try our AI interviewer on our website ICOM, or maybe you can book a demo with our team so they can take it from there. Thank you all for joining us today and have a good day.